Hey YouTube, I want to show you, looks like I have 4 obsolete notes here. Now obsolete notes, I am by no means an expert on these things at all, but I like, or I guess a goal of mine with obsolete notes is to have, if it's even possible, a note from every state in some way, form, or fashion. And obviously, some states came in well after these obsolete notes were done away with. But all the states that issued obsolete notes, it would be great to have an example of a note from every state. Now, what you have in front of you here is a Newport, Rhode Island, just commerce banknote. And there's a whole series of these. There's a 1, a 2, a 5, a 10, I believe a 20, a 50, and a 100. They all look fairly similar, just like this, and embossed in green with the value. And I purchased this note for $50, and I loved how it looked. And just looking at it right here, videoing it, it doesn't really give it justice. It's really a really pretty note. There's the back. Sent it in to PMG, and they only thought it was a 55. I thought it would pretty easily get a 62 or 63, but I'm not the expert on this, like I said. But obsolete notes, a lot of them are hand cut, and I really struggle grading them, and which is, I guess, apparent here. But this one, the margins are all great and even on it. It was unissued, which is why the remainder is up at the top. But I hope, someday if I get the motivation to, I'd like to get the 1 and, the 5 and just the rest of the series of this as well. You can actually find these in uncut sheets as well, I believe. I've seen one for sale, and those have a little bit more value to them. But, this note in general, you're not looking at much money. After the grading fees and insurance and all that stuff with this, I probably have what it's worth in it. So it's just something, it's a cool piece of American history to look at. Next, this is the very, very common Virginia Treasury note from 1862. This is not like a Confederate note or anything like that. It is a Richmond, Virginia note. While that was the capital of the Confederacy, there's a little bit more going on here than just calling it a Confederate note. This one is funny because the gutter fold there on the left is very, very apparent. And when I got the note, never once did I think, oh, that's going to get a gutter fold thrown on it whenever it gets graded. And this note I bought with a whole series of notes, and I basically got it for free in a sense, because the other notes is a good deal on, and I love buying out old collections, and this was somebody's jewel, because it was very well kept and protected, and the collection it came out of had been within that family 50 some odd years. It had some really nice notes in it. And this is the only obsolete that I sent off to get graded, and it graded about what I thought. I thought it might have a chance at mint state, but yet again, it's really hard to grade these things. This one was obviously hand cut. If you look at the margins on it, they're a little unique. You can see the hand signature where from the top when they signed the note, it came down below, and same here. You can see when they signed their name, they had the little flash there at the end. It went down on the note below this one. Then it was cut. I'll show you the back of this. You can see where the ink has bled through on them. The paper that these things are printed on is, I've heard it called onion paper before. I know that's referencing more of the Civil War and the Confederate notes, but this paper is super thin. And I couldn't imagine these things being circulated and keeping their body about them. A lot of them, I mean, you can crinkle them up and they'll start to rip and tear and everything, which is why you don't see tons of them in high grades. Next, this is really the prettiest obsolete I have, I believe, and these are really common. You can go out and buy a 65, 66 for not really much money. So I got this at a coin show when I was a little kid, and it's one of the earlier pieces of graded currency I got, and I just liked how it looked. It was oversized, and it kind of has a rainbow look about it. Like if you look right through here, you can see this was unissued as well. And the back is really awesome as well. It says, I don't know if you can see it, who printed it down there as well. The paper this is on is much like the paper that a lot of the Confederate notes was printed on as well. It even like wears the same and all that. You can see a little blotchiness, maybe water damage or something, but it's really in exceptional shape. And like I said, you can go find these very easily. I want to say this is worth $35, $40, something like that. Not even worth getting graded, but I got it and bought it already graded. And then the last one, this is what I guess it's called a cotton-bearing note. It was issued by the state of Mississippi. This one's from Jackson, 1862. Yet again, it's a state-issued note. It is not a Confederate note. My wife and I went down to Biloxi and went to the Biloxi, Mississippi coin shop, and the man that owns the Biloxi coin shop, he's a really nice guy. Cannot remember his name off the top of my head. I have his card somewhere. He had a whole bunch of these, and I knew very little about them, but I did know that having the blue was a little more desirable than the red ones and the green ones. And so this is the only blue one he had, and it happened to be really the nicest one he had as well. And it did grade a 40, which was exactly what I was hoping. I was hoping to get that extremely fine thrown on it. It's obviously hand cut. If you look at the top margin, it's like they used a dull pair of scissors. And then the bottom margin, it's like their head was crooked when they were trying to cut this thing. Margins are everywhere. You can look at the corner. This one, little eat up. But this is called a cotton-bearing note. The back of it is nothing. You can see where the signatures have bled through. You can find these. I know I've mentioned Don Kelly before. He has some on his website. I do not believe he has this exact note on his website. He has all the others except this. And if you ever get into obsoletes or particular states or whatever, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, those are the states, in Virginia, you can find obsolete notes from very easily, but there are always scarce notes and rarities. And I know some of these cotton-bearing notes, obviously higher denominations, you know, they can hit $1,000 pretty easily. It's all about what you want to educate yourself on and what you want to collect. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll dig out some more obsolete notes at some point. I have a lot of obsoletes that are not graded. They're not, very few are worth getting graded, I think. But I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.